Welcome to Gwydion's Astral Podcast, episode 135, in which we will hear from MUSIC4. Hey, Edward?
Yeah?
What is this here about MUSIC4? This sentence doesn't really make sense.
Well, you know Sonnet 1?
Of course I know Sonnet 1. How's he doing?
He's good. His podcast is still existent, even though technically there's been 2 episodes in the past 7 years. But the more recent episode was just a few months ago.
Oh, well, I mean, that's something. So he's going to keep doing his thing, but slowly, once in a while, like a great trickle, sort of on a geologic timescale, podcasting.
Yeah, basically.
Well, since maybe people haven't heard about Sonnet 1, if you haven't heard about Sonnet 1, where did you come from? I'm basically assuming that whoever's hearing this is either Steven or Robbie or maybe Chris. Is there a third person who might be listening?
Yeah, me.
Oh, well, okay.
It's possible that, people might navigate through the website and click the red hat guy at the bottom and find their way to the podcast and then maybe listen to this episode. I don't know, something might happen. Well, anyway, so Sonnet 1 was your... Yeah, Sonnet 1 was my program that I wrote originally when I was 12. And then the computers because I wrote it more than once. It was something I wrote at home, at my mom's, and then I wrote it at my dad's too. And the programs were a little different, but basically the same idea. And...
what was the program?
Okay, so it was originally, it writes sonnets.
Like Shakespearean sonnets?
Yeah.
With an iambic pentameter and everything?
Well, anything can be an iambic pentameter depending on where you put the stressed syllables.
That wasn't iambic pentameter.
Oh, you're right. Anything can be in iambic pentameter depending on where you put the stressed syllables.
Okay. That's wrong, but okay, I'll humor you.
Yeah, so assuming you keep that in mind, then it's always in iambic pentameter depending on where you put the stressed syllables. Z.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
If with that little caveat, yes, they are perfect Shakespearean sonnets. In that they have the A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G rhyme scheme, and they are sentences.
They're sentences?
Yeah, sometimes interrogative ones.
You mean questions?
Yeah, so sentences, always sentences. Sometimes questions. Questions are kind of sentence.
Right. I've got it. My dad was also an English professor.
Oh, yours too?
Yes, Edward, mine too. So what does one of these sonnets sound like?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Here is the most recent sonnet to be recorded and put up on the Sonnet 1 podcast.
You are Sonnet 1. I am Sonnet 1.
You will compose random
sonnets.
Sonnet number 3000. A worthwhile encounter by Bleeds Artfully. As an orange remains a coffee with a purse. The paranoid tent speaks frankly throughout a moat. The most bleak fan makes noisily at the universe. A fearless monkey transforms splendidly for a vote. Joyously, the superiors spread faintly through the sea. The fascist hair gel barfs truly at a hen. Sometimes playground shows amorously all over a flea. Sexy beavers quicken subtly just like a pen. Subtly, the penguins quicken firmly underneath the worst. As the vowels overestimate up an ass. Bruised carrot chokes gently all over the first. A sporty calf sniffs real nice up a bass. Meticulously, the ghosts sprain tersely for a muscle. A wide playground sees noisily within a castle.
Okay, all right. So nonsense.
Well, yeah, but nonsense that sometimes makes you think.
I mean, you can exercise the option to think about it. Sort of like you can exercise the option to look at a cloud and wonder what it looks like when it looks like a cloud.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, so that's Sonnet 1, and so this is Music 4?
Yeah, it's the same idea. It's something more recent. I mean, I made things that played music when I was young also, but this is something I made today based on Music 1.
Oh, what does Music 1 sound like?
Oh, here's Music 1.
All right. So Music 4 is different from Music 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the difference?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. For one, it stays in the middle octave.
Okay.
I mean, kind of.
Okay.
The root. I'm not a music guy, so I'm probably using all the wrong words for these things. But basically, what Music 4 does is it plays 3 notes in C major scale, and then it plays 3 notes in C sharp major scale. Then it plays 3 notes in D major scale. Do you get the pattern?
Oh, I guess so. Then it plays 3 notes in D sharp major scale?
Yeah. And then in E major scale.
Right. And then F major, since there's no E sharp.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was gonna say, oh, there's no D sharp, but then I thought about it and visualized piano keys and realized, oh, there's a black key there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because D's between the two black ones.
Right. Yeah. So okay. So should we just play some Music 4?
No, let's do that after we finish talking.
Oh, you had something else you wanted to say?
Well, gosh, now you got me on the spot here. What else did I want to say? Keep an eye out, ear or eye, depending on whether you listen to the podcast or watch the YouTube channel. The Multiverse Cartographer.
Oh, right, that book you wrote.
Yeah, so there's the Multiverse Cartographer, which is the book inside the book.
Right.
And it was originally a book inside of a podcast.
Okay. Which podcast?
The Interdimensional Coffee House, formerly known as The Coffee House, an Interdimensional Odyssey.
Oh, yeah.
So in the Coffee House podcast, there was a book called the Multiverse Cartographer,
Right.
and it was written by Charles Rubin, the Multiverse Cartographer.
I thought you wrote it.
No, okay, so I wrote the podcast, and in the fictional universe of the podcast, there was a book called The Multiverse Cartographer, which was written by Charles Rubin.
Okay.
So it was Charles Rubin's journals. It was originally a journal, then it turned into journals because, of course, he writes a lot, and there's only so much you can write in a journal unless it's like a TARDIS journal where you can write like forever and never run out of pages.
Hey, that would have been a good idea. Why didn't Isaac give Charles Rubin a TARDIS journal?
Yeah, I mean, sure, but he didn't.
Okay.
Okay, so the Multiverse Cartographer, Charles Rubin, so later, I wrote, after publishing Thomas and the Wolf. By the way, all of this is at edwardreib.com. It's edward-reib.com. The second banner ad.
Banner ad?
Yeah. I made my website look like GeoCities. Sort of like a GeoCities wet dream without the little, banner ad. Well, you remember GeoCities?
Yeah, I remember GeoCities.
So GeoCities had like compulsory, like a little ad in the corner.
You're right, because it was free.
Right. But these don't have the ad in the corner.
Oh, that's a relief.
But it's a bunch of like, animated GIFs, but big animated GIFs that would have taken like 45 minutes to load back in GeoCities times.
Oh, okay.
So it's like what GeoCities might have looked like if someone had like crazy bandwidth. I mean, if everybody had crazy bandwidth, then anyway. So it's sort of like I'm still writing my HTML in Notepad. I'm not into any of that Squarespace or any of that shit.
Wow. Tell us how you really feel, Edward.
Okay, so what was I talking about? Yeah, on my website, the second animated GIF goes to the books. So Thomas and the Wolf I published in 2021.
Right.
And it's about me and my dad, fictionalized, and it exaggerated a lot.
Okay.
Except my dad's in his 20s and I'm in my 50s or something because it's a reincarnation thing.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Well, I know you know. You're me.
Okay. Well, let's just. So after Thomas and the Wolf, then what happened?
Well, then on the description or on the about the author or whatever, I wrote that I had written many short stories, and so I thought, well, those short stories don't exist anywhere except for on like pieces of paper in a drawer in my desk somewhere.
Uh-huh.
So I dug out all those pieces of paper and I put them all together and published a compilation of my old short stories called The Small Gray Mouse.
Oh, like the Small Gray Mouse short story.
Yeah, exactly. That was the title chapter or whatever. It opens with The Small Gray Mouse, but the book is technically called The Small Gray Mouse and Other Short Stories.
Okay. So what does this have to do with the Multiverse Cartographer?
Right. Okay. So what I did was I took the scripts from the old Coffee House podcast, the Interdimensional Coffee House, in which there is the book called The Multiverse Cartographer, right?
Right.
And I took highlights from that and just kind of sprinkled them in at random throughout the collection of short stories called The Small Gray Mouse and Other Short Stories.
Okay.
And then later, I think in 2/22 of 2022, Like, I think the day before that, I was like, I've got to do something to celebrate 2022.
Right, of course. So what'd you do?
Okay, so I took other short stories that I had dug up after publishing The Small Gray Mouse and Other Short Stories. I found more short stories that I had forgotten about or that I hadn't found initially.
Right.
And then I took highlights from the New World Empire and did the same thing and sprinkled them in throughout the short stories of Smaller Mouse.
Okay, so what's the New World Empire?
I'm glad you asked. So the New World Empire is the origin story, and the Interdimensional Coffee House podcast was a spin-off of the New World Empire.
Okay. And so then what?
Okay, so then after all of that, I took the rest of the Interdimensional Coffee House that I didn't put in Small Gray Mouse.
Uh-huh.
And I took the rest of the New World Empire that I didn't put in Smaller Mouse.
Uh-huh.
And I put all of that together, and then I added a layer of that it was like a textbook voice. Like in ancient times, there was this multiverse cartographer, and we don't know everything about him, but here's what we know. And then the chapters alternate basically between a chapter of Interdimensional Coffee House and a chapter of New World Empire.
Oh, that sounds like it must be confusing.
Yeah. So what happened was it was very confusing. And people started giving it bad reviews, and this woman called Mrs. Brunk came on and wrote this long paragraph about how confused she was. So, inspired by that, I created a YouTube channel called The Multiverse Cartographer with a playlist called The Multiverse Cartographer and made a video called For Mrs. Brunk, which introduced the series.
Okay.
Right. Sorry, distracting. So then what I did was I arranged all of the chapters of the New World Empire and the Interdimensional Coffee House, including the ones in the Mouse books and in the Multiverse Cartographer, in an order that makes sense.
Okay.
And then I, on the YouTube channel, recited those chapters and explained them.
Okay. So there's the Multiverse Cartographer, the book within the podcast, the Multiverse Cartographer, the book within the Mouse books, the Multiverse Cartographer, the book within the book called the Multiverse Cartographer, and then the Multiverse Cartographer, the YouTube channel.
Exactly. And then I took an audio-only versions of the recitals of the Multiverse Cartographer YouTube series and made it into a podcast called The Multiverse Cartographer.
Okay.
So that's the Multiverse Cartographer.
All right. So is it where is it at?
There's 15 episodes, but there's going to be a total of 17. I need 2 more episodes to finish the series, and I'm currently, right now, writing the script for the 16th part. And I just think everyone should check it out, because if you like fiction and sci-fi and those kinds of ideas and me rambling, it's basically a story, an ongoing, interconnected story that I've been working on since 1997. Here, do you want to say hi?
Who's that?
It's the Gwydion podcast.
Oh, hi.
That's Priyal, but that's not what I call her. I only call her that when I'm talking to you. And by you, I mean people on the internet. Piyu is short for Priyal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyway, so, okay.
So you were going to say something, right?
I think I was, but maybe that was it.
That was what?
The thing I was going to say.
All right. So that's that, and I guess we'll play the song now.
Right. So this is a song written by a GW Basic computer program that I wrote today, called MUSIC4.
Well, wasn't that lovely? Thank you, Edward, for being our guest today. And thank you, whoever's listening to this. Why are you listening to this? All right. So we'll talk to you later in episode 136, I guess. And maybe we'll remember what it was he was going to say. All right. Good night.